What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is now going to take its next stop in Birmingham, Alabama. We are in Blazer country. We're going to talk about UAB here in this video, a program that ever since they got to the American has struggled. Can this head coach finally get the Blazers back on the right track? My name is Nate Bove, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank you all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. If you want to support it even further, please be my guest. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications ensures that you don't miss an upload during prediction season, especially not one for your favorite team. And you don't want to miss videos when I get into the college football season as well, because we post a lot of content there too. Now, I am a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry, so if you want to see all the cool stuff I get up to outside of YouTube while still being up to date what goes on this platform, then give me a follow. Twitter, Instagram, TailgateNate29. You can even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I want to thank you all so much for not only supporting, or I should say not only interacting with me, but just supporting me in any way, shape, or form, especially here on this channel. With all that said and done and out of the way, we turn it over to Trent Dilfer's squad here at UAB, and over the past couple of seasons, well, it just has not worked out that well for the UAB Blazers. 4-8 in 2023, and they were 3-9 last season. Ouch. This is a UAB team that has really struggled ever since getting to the American ranks, which, again, coincidentally enough, was when Trent Dilfer took over. Now, you'll remember I am not the biggest fan of the Trent Dilfer hire. However, we're going to take the positive spin in this video and look at, what UAB needs to do in order to take that next step this season. And there's some increasing optimism that it could happen. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview, offense over here to the left, defense over here to the right, and at the end of the video, we are going to dive into the UAB football schedule. I will give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and this is the video that is overall going to tell all of you what I think about the Blazers here in 2025. Now, before we do get started, you look right down below me. Returning production numbers, or according to ESPN, they'll factor in portal additions up to a certain percentage, and your recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are both according to 24/7 Sports. Alex Mortensen is your offensive coordinator as we dive in to this Blazer offense. Now, the quarterback position is a little bit of an interesting one to kind of talk about, in my opinion, because while you do not lose your primary option from last year, to me, in my opinion, you lose your more talented option in Jacob Zeno. Started his collegiate career at Baylor, has played 3 seasons over here with UAB, including exploding in 2023, a couple years ago, 3,126 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and on almost 74% completion percentage with 4 rushing touchdowns. Not a guy that's going to rack up the yardage on the ground, but he is transferred over to Texas A&M. So while he was not the primary option last year, I think he overall is the better player than Jalen Kitna. And that's no slight to Jalen Kitna. I think the kid's got some good attributes, but I think Jacob Zeno is the better player. He's going to go over to Texas A&M and back up Marcel Reed. When you talk about Jalen Kitna, we'll read his stat line and then we'll talk about it. 2,209 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on 62% completion percentage. He threw 316 passes last season. So this is a guy in Jalen Kitna that when you look at him, sure, the improvement needs to come. And unlike Jacob Zeno, he is not very likely to get outside of the pocket and run. Not that Zeno was super likely, but he definitely could extend plays with his legs if he had to. Kitna is definitely not that guy. Again, I'll hammer it home one final time. I would rather have Zeno than Kitna, but because Kitna is here, you want to see him improve that touchdown to interception ratio. I think, too, that completion percentage, honestly, is not in a bad number. Jacob Zeno is just a completion machine. And I think, again, Kitna has got some good attributes that you can utilize here and be able to develop, but he's got to see that improvement this year. He's got to take that jump in the next step, as now the starting role really is all his. He's got to take the reins of this offense. As far as your running back room goes, let's talk about your lead rusher and Lee Beebe, who is off and gone. 885 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. He is now off to the Indiana Hoosiers. So you do get a UTEP transfer in Javon Jackson, as well as some solid returners that are going to be in depth roles for you. Javon Jackson with UTEP last year, 754 yards and 4 touchdowns was a really, really nice piece. Isaiah Jacobs is going to be coming back to the room, as well as Solomon Beebe, and you do get another transfer in Marquise Collins. We'll see how much any of those guys play. Isaiah Jacobs, though, is a really nice returning piece, had 162 yards and averaged right around 4 yards per carry last year. I do think Jackson is a phenomenal get from the portal, and I do think, again, you have solid returners to be able to bulk up what else you have. As far as this pass catching room goes, out of your top 9 pass catchers, 7 of them are gone, and all 7 of those guys had at least 150 receiving yards last season. Whoa, man, that is a lot of names that does leave, and you lose some really, really big ones. Amari Thomas has transferred over to Houston, 670 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. A guy that tied him in receptions last year, Cam Shanks, both of them had 62, 656 yards for Shanks and 6 touchdowns. He is off to Arkansas, so both of those guys are off to some power programs. Now, you do, and again, you do lose some other depth, but you do get some solid pieces back. You take a look in the wide receiver room for first. Corey Milliner returns just as a sophomore, I believe a redshirt sophomore, 416 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. He is that deep down play threat. While he did not have a massive reception this year, his high was only of 45 yards, which is still pretty good. He can be a guy that can help this offense stretch the field. And then Ivan Hooks is back. He's notable for a couple reasons. One, 179 yards and a touchdown on 14 catches last year. That's just some really solid production. He also completed a 71-yard pass on a trick play last year. So while probably you're not going to see that happen with him again this year, it is just a little tidbit that I thought I'd slide in there. They're going to be joined by many transfers in this wide receiver room. Guys like Caleb Brown, who are coming over from Iowa. He is formerly from Ohio State. You know, Ohio State doesn't recruit anyone to play wide receiver there. Evan McRae is over from Wingate, and then you do get A.J. Johnson, who comes over from East Tennessee State. So some good portal pieces come in to pair with what I think are 2 pretty solid returners. And as far as your tight end room goes, portal additions are going to be the name of the game there. Antonio Ferguson is coming in. Elijah Lag is coming in. And you do have some freshmen with a returner in J.C. Sively. But again, I think the 2 portal pieces probably going to be your 2 biggest weapons in the tight end room this year. And then you take a look at the offensive line. A mix of constants and transfers are going to look to overall give some improvement to this offensive line. Now, the run game last year, again, really wasn't that bad. 4 yards per carry. Okay, you'll take that. But this O-line did allow 33 sacks last season. 10 when Jacob Zeno was quarterback, and 23 when Kitna was the signal caller. So this is going to be an offensive line that, look, the portal pieces should come in and help, but a lot of the returners too, and guys that are either returning to start or are going to step up and play some bigger roles, have really got to set that foundation, and the transfers slot in to just be some really, really good pieces. Now, overall, when I take a look at this offense, again, I've already told you I think the better piece at quarterback is gone, but it's not about what you lost, it's about what you have. I think Kitna can still have some pretty high upside, and I think he can be a good quarterback. Thinking, look, right around the 2,600, 2,700 yard mark. I think he can get there. I think he's got good skill position pieces, but the problem with UAB, especially offensively, is getting things to mesh at a consistent rate, as well as turnovers. Kitna's got to be able to hold on to the football this year. His offensive line definitely going to have to help him with that. Your defensive coordinator is Steve Russ, and the defense, hey, look, you take a look at their overall stats, it really was pretty solid. Nothing too glaring, not a inherently horrible pass defense, not an inherently horrible run defense. They were kind of mid. They allowed just under 400 yards per game. Again, not great, not absolutely horrible, solid, but it lacked the big playmaking abilities. What do I mean by that? Sacks, tackles for loss, turnovers. Only 18 sacks last year and only forced 13 turnovers. You need to force more of those, period, if you want your defense to be more disruptive. And look, even if they don't make an improvement, even if they are a team that still allows right around 400 yards per game, increasing that sack production, getting more turnovers, just gives this offense more chances to score points, which ultimately isn't that how you win a football game? I don't know. It's been a while since football's been on the television, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. This is a UAB team that has got to be more disruptive and aggressive and make those big plays. Your entire defensive line is going to be overhauled, and there are some absolutely massive pieces that depart from this defensive front. Most notably is your edge rusher in Desmond Little. He's good enough to go play with the Indianapolis Colts in the NFL. He had 6 sacks a season ago. Some other really good defensive line pieces are going to be gone from the exterior, from the interior, and all sorts of realms on this defensive line. So again, it is a portal-built room, but it does have some high upside of being able to improve this pass rush. You take a look at who they got. Okay, Amari Morrison, 1.5 sacks over with Old Dominion, also had 3.5 tackles for loss. He's had 8 total over the past 2 seasons. That's a good piece. Denver Warren coming into the nose tackle room. He's over from Sam Houston. He's bounced around everywhere. Has now landed with UAB, his 5th different collegiate program. My goodness. 2.5 sacks last season. Okay, that's good. Nigel Tate last year, depth piece at Boston College, but Boston College has developed good defensive linemen, so okay. And then coming in here to play the likes of, not sure what they call it. It might just be sort of that edge rusher position here, is Jamichael Rogers. He's over from Miles College. From what I understand, had some good production over there. So again, you see the upside, but it's about putting the results out on the field. Some more transfers and returners will file in for depth. In the linebacker room, you're going to get a mishmash of guys from both the portal and that are returning to play in bigger roles. But what's noteworthy is your top 3 tackling linebackers do leave. Michael Moore, your leading tackler, is gone. You do lose your 2nd overall sack leader in Everett Rousseau, however you pronounce the last name. He had 3 sacks, 75 tackles. He has gone and off to the Memphis Tigers, as well as yet another top 5 tackler and a really good linebacker piece in OC Brothers. So again, returners are going to step up to play in some larger roles, and there are transfers that are going to fit in. Guys in this linebacker room include Teddy Tusum, who is going to step up in a bigger role, Tylen McNichols, who is going to sit behind a transfer in Eli Ennis, coming over from Nicholls State. And then you also take a look at Calvin Pitcher, who's over from Idaho State, and you can throw, again, some more names in there if you want to throw the rush names in there, like the Jamichael Rogers and James Smyer, who's also a returner. You can do that if you would like to. Defensive back room, it loses a ton of talent, but there are many starters that I should say this team loses a ton of talent, but a lot of your projected starters are going to be some familiar faces from last season. According, as of this very moment, to ourlads.com, again, very subject to change, your entire starting rotation in the defensive back room are returners, and your entire 2nd string are transfers. Now, there are some good players that do come back. That safety tandem, Sarad Bryant, A.J. Brown, going to be stepping up in some ways this year, but each had really solid production last year. Again, transfers acting as the depth, as a lot of returners are going to step into some bigger roles here, but they did get some nice transfer portal pieces. Jalen Cheek, Perry Fisher, Pierre Royster, Josh Baca, Tamarian Crumpley, and some others that'll sit at the very least in that 3rd string. Overall, in your special teams, familiar names are going to return to that special teams unit. That's your special teams report, because kickers are people too. We must show them some love. I understand the end of the defense was pretty messy, so I'll sum it up here. Look, your defensive line is getting overhauled. Your linebacker room, okay, it's got some solid returners and portal pieces, while your defensive backfield, I really like that safety tandem, but a lot of other pieces are going to step up, whether it's returners or from the portal. I don't care. They have got to step up in roles of players that you did lose. Overall, I look at this team, and I mean 43% returning production across the board. Again, there are some solid pieces that come back, but there are enough focal points that are being replaced, such as the main man at quarterback is now Jalen Kitna, and not that it wasn't last season, but he fully knows he is 100% most likely in control of this quarterback battle. Yeah, you get some transfers. Ryder Burton is coming in, and some returners like Trace Campbell. Sure, okay, fine. I think it's going to be Jalen Kitna's job, and he's got to see improvement. Skill position room has got to step up. Defensive pieces have got to step up, especially in being able to force those big plays, turnovers, sacks, tackles for loss, you name it. All right, the schedule prediction is going to be a little bit faster than most because I did ramble on quite a bit about that roster. There was a lot to talk about. Here's your UAB 2025 football schedule, but we first turn your attention right down below me to some odds from FanDuel. Not me telling you to go place your money. You do what you want with your money, but it just does provide some nice, good context to see how good the odds makers think UAB is going to be this year. And well, just like their past couple of seasons, the odds makers don't expect any sort of massive turnaround for UAB this year. Now, that's not to say it still couldn't happen. 4.5 is a fairly ambiguous win total, but this is a program that is in desperate need to build in the right direction. And all of these numbers down here, it totally makes sense why those are the odds that Vegas has placed on this team. This team needs a lot of building, needs a lot to come together, and I think that's going to happen in their first game of the year. It's a Thursday game against Alabama State, although to be honest, I really don't think you got to worry about that one too much. It's once you start playing these FBS teams that, look, you're really, the rubber is going to meet the road. You're really going to find out what you're made of here really early in the season because you got to go on the road and play Navy. Now, any way you slice it, I do think this is a loss for this program because Navy just returns so much. An amazing quarterback in Blake Horvath. If you get a chance to watch Navy this year, watch the likes of number 11 playing quarterback. He is simply sensational. Eli Hendrick, Alec Texa, Brandon Chapman, many other phenomenal rushing pieces are going to be returning for this team from last season. And while the Navy defense is not as impressive as some of the other armed forces groups, Army, Air Force, and even some of the other defenses within the American Athletic, at least when you take a look at what they did last year, it's still going to fight, still going to play hard, and the offense really is going to do a lot of talking this year, and it's the reason Navy will win this game against UAB, especially if the Blazers still are unable to force those big plays like sacks and turnovers. This game against Akron is very much a swing game. I could go either way because I think the Zips make some solid improvements this year. I do like Ben Finley at the quarterback position. Really nice experience piece. Jordan Gant is coming over from Tennessee State in the running back room, as well as another transfer in Taven Curry from ULM, who I do like a lot, is also a former UAB Blazer. So how about that? You have some solid wide receiver pieces there. The defense, okay, it returns some nice talent. Overall, does Akron still have a lot of building to do? Yes. Do I think they're more talented than UAB? Also, yes. However, I think UAB is going to pull out on top here of this game. I think there are going to be moments this season where UAB gets everything to click. It's about getting everything to click consistently. That's going to be the big key. Now, based on what you see throughout the rest of this video, if they click as early as week 3, then, well, things could definitely change with the way that I'm about to predict this team. However, this game against Akron, very much so a swing game, and I'll go ahead and side with the home team here. It probably is a more important game for Akron as they try to push towards that 6-win mark, even though they can't make a bowl game this year because of academic ineligibility. But this is an Akron team that I think is going to see some level of improvement this year, and I like a lot of the pieces that they got. UAB gets the better of them, though. I think maybe the one turnover is the difference maker as UAB starts to see more success forcing those game-changing plays. I'll predict the next couple really quickly here. On the road against Tennessee, yeah, sorry, you're not going to win that one. Even though Nico is gone, Dylan Sampson is gone, a lot of other really talented pieces are gone. This is still very much so a Tennessee team that hails from the SEC. Joey Aguilar is just going to take a minute to adjust to the SEC level of competition, and I think he's going to be fine. And it's a Tennessee team that is sort of switched, right? They're now going to be built on their defense. They do lose James Pierce, but a lot of nice talent does come back, and you're not beating a Power 4 team not on the road, not with the way this program is right now. Army is up next, and I think you lose to the Black Knights, even though Bryson Daly is gone. Kanye Udo is gone. On the defensive end, Elo Madozi is gone. Army loses a lot of talent. I do think they got a really good coach. I think they have a really good system, and I still think they have a really good team. I do like the pieces that are going to be filling in for what you lost last season, still returning a good amount of talent. And even though I don't think Army is going to quite be the fringe playoff contender they were last year, I think they're still going to be a really nice, solid bunch and very competitive here in the American. Florida Atlantic does have the potential to surprise some people this year, as you do get a head coach in Zach Kitley, who is known for his offensive firepower. Again, really got his big break over at Western Kentucky, coaching Bailey Zappi, and that absolutely dynamic offense. And then you also saw him turn Texas Tech into a top offense in the country. So this is the Florida Atlantic team that now gets Caden Veltkamp. He has Easton Messer to form the connection with. Defensively, well, you're going to need to take some steps forward, but I think it's enough to slow down what UAB has got. Apart from this one being on the road, or I should say, as well as this one being on the road, not a good matchup there for the Blazers in Florida Atlantic at FAU. Against this Memphis team, I think you also lose. Now, Memphis is still going to be a really talented team, however, even though they lose most everybody from last year. Seth Hennigan, the quarterback, gone. Some really good defensive pieces, gone. Skill position, gone. Memphis loses a lot, but Ryan Silverfield always does a good job with this program. The foundation that this program sits on is also really well built. And Memphis is absolutely going to be a team that is still going to sit near the top of the American rankings. So that is a win that I got here for the Memphis Tigers, and a loss for UAB. One more loss and you're already looking at the potential of you might need to win out, and well, that's going to happen right here. Watch out for the UConn Huskies, man. UConn is going to be a really good, sneaky team this year. I think they did really well for themselves in the transfer portal. This is a UConn team that is getting some upgrades at some positions, while hopefully it can stay healthy at others, such as the quarterback position with Joe Fagnano. But what a story Jim Mora has built here at UConn, taking this team from the depths of college football and rocketing them up to a team that really everyone should expect to make a bowl game this year. Quite the accomplishment. Hats off to him, even though I'm not wearing a hat. I guess earbud off to him. I don't really know what else to do. This is a UConn team that is going to be dangerous this year. They got a lot of good pieces, and UAB drops this one on the road. They're also going to drop this one on the road to Rice. And I know how I've spoken about Rice. This is a team that I'm not high on by any means. And of course, what's the big joke in college football? Sorry, Rice fans. It has to be made in at least one video, and I don't know if I've done it yet this year. This is a Rice team, however, though, that does have some nice competitive pieces, even though E.J. Warner, Dean Connors, both of those guys are gone. I still think Rice has got some good pieces, and they have some good defensive talent that does return. I think Drew DeVilliers has the potential to be a pretty nice quarterback for him. Overall, there are some good pieces on the offensive front, including a graduate center in David Stickle. There are some good pieces still here at Rice. Will it lead to a lot of success? No, but I think with this one being a road game, UAB does drop it. Now, I do see a game this year where UAB beats a team that is definitely going to have a better record than them at the end of the year. Again, that's why that Akron game is a fringe one. Who knows what the Zips and the Blazers are each going to do. North Texas, I can pretty much guarantee you, is going to have a better record than UAB at the end of the season, but I still think UAB gets this one done. Now, North Texas does lose a lot, including Chandler Morris at quarterback. Some of their better weapons do transfer out of the program, but this is a North Texas team that I think is very well built under Eric Morris. I love his coaching style. I think this is a North Texas team that's going to be scrappy. They're going to claw. They're going to fight. They're going to be a really good side. However, I do believe that UAB, piecing everything together in a couple of games, this maybe might not be more than just a gut feeling game. I definitely think North Texas is still more talented. I think they're better coached, but I think UAB is going to be able to put it together. Maybe a big sack or two, that turnover that they need to be making throughout this season. I think they get it here in this one. However, they don't get it against South Florida. Good luck trying to force a turnover against Bowen Byram. Well, he has had some interception troubles. Okay, maybe let's backtrack a little bit. Byram is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the G5 ranks. He's going to be one of the most explosive options. That's an offense under Alex Golish I think is going to be really dangerous, and it's a program that just continues to trend in the right direction and is waiting for that eruption. Very well could come this season. UAB loses at home to South Florida. But you know what? Even though you're not going to a bowl game, you're going to wrap out the season with a win here against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, who I just don't think is going to be a very good team at all. I really don't see that many great pieces there. While they still have some solid guys and guys that can give you some trouble, every team is going to have their really, really good players. Tulsa overall, I think, is really going to struggle this year. They'll be one of, if not the bottom team in the American Athletic. So 4-8 for UAB. I mean, guys, this record right here probably gets Trent Dilfer fired, and UAB is searching for a new head coach. Again, I never liked Trent Dilfer coming in, but I am very much so rooting for him to do a lot better than I'm predicting here. I just think there's a lot of problems within this UAB program. There's not enough disruptiveness. There's not enough physicality. There's not enough grit. I think UAB needs a lot of work this year. Now, I hope that they can prove me wrong. Again, there are a lot more winnable games on the schedule. I think, again, if Florida Atlantic needs some time, you can go on the road and get that win. You can go on the road and beat Rice. You can pick up some extra wins here. Now, the ones that you look at and say, hey, those are winnable, well, you got them on the road. Florida Atlantic, UConn, Rice, all those, probably you look at and say, that's a winnable game. Well, it's a road game too. So this is a UAB team that I think is a little tricky to dissect this year. Overall, though, I still don't think it's going to be where Blazer fans want it to be. But let me know what you think about the Blazers in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.